All right, let's step into one of the lab's coldest, but maybe one of its most important departments, the cryopreservation unit. Today, we're going on a journey into the incredible science of, well, stopping time.
Yeah, I know. It sounds like something straight out of a sci-fi movie, but that's literally what's happening here. This process lets us freeze living cells today and then 10, maybe even 20 years from now, bring them back, just as healthy as the day they were collected. So how on earth is this biological time travel even possible?
The easiest way to wrap your head around this whole thing is to think of it as a form of biological insurance. It's just like any other insurance policy you might buy to protect yourself from something unexpected down the road. This is a policy you take out to protect the very possibility of parenthood from all the uncertainties of life and health.
So here's our game plan for this explainer. We're going to start with the why this insurance is so important. Then we'll look at who actually needs it. After that, we dive into the science and face the number one enemy, ice crystals. We'll walk through the whole journey into the cold, step by step, and finish up with the one golden rule that you can never, ever break.
Okay, so let's start with that big idea, the power to just press pause on biology, to stick a pin in someone's fertility timeline. I mean, that is a seriously incredible tool, and it has a massive impact on people's lives.
But this isn't just some abstract science experiment, right? This technology was built for real people who are facing really tough challenges and making these huge decisions about what their future is going to look like. So who are they? Who are the people signing up for this kind of biological insurance? Well, the reasons are pretty diverse, and they're always deeply personal.
First, and this is a big one, you have cancer patients. Think about it, treatments like chemotherapy or radiation can be life-saving, but they can also really damage fertility. Then there are folks undergoing certain surgical procedures where sperm is retrieved directly. Freezing it means they don't have to go through that surgery again. For some, it's all about peace of mind. It's a backup plan during an IVF cycle, or for guys planning a vasectomy who still want to keep their options open for the future. And sometimes it's even a way to pool together multiple samples if someone's sperm count is declining over time.
All right, now for the how. To really get how we can freeze life, we first have to understand the main villain of this story, the primary thing we're fighting against in this process, ice crystals.
And it's a totally fair question, isn't it? I mean, if you want to freeze something, why not just pop it in the freezer?
Well, the answer is all about what happens to plain old water on a microscopic level.
See, when the water inside a sperm cell freezes, it doesn't just turn into a smooth, solid block. It forms these incredibly sharp, jagged crystals. You have to imagine them like millions of tiny, microscopic knives, just stabbing and shredding the cell's delicate outer wall from the inside out. The result? Total and complete destruction.
So, if the problem is the water inside the cell, what's the solution? It's this amazing substance called a cryoprotectant. It's a special protective fluid that's designed to seep into the cell, push the water out, and take its place. And the genius part is, it solidifies without forming those deadly crystals. It's basically like swapping out a dangerous substance for a much, much safer one. So now that we know what we need to do, get that water out and the cryoprotectant in, let's put on our virtual lab coats and see exactly how it's all done. This is the step-by-step journey into the deep freeze. Now, this whole process is super precise, but there is one moment, one single step that is more critical than anything else. A moment where the entire future of that sample just hangs in the balance. Okay, so first, the sample gets analyzed to check its quality. Then comes that critical mixing step, where the cryoprotectant is added. After it's mixed, the sample just sits for about 10 minutes. This is a step called equilibration. It's basically giving that protective fluid enough time to work its way through the cell walls and replace the water inside. And finally, it gets packaged up into these special little vials or thin straws. And here it is. This is that critical moment, the real insider secret. You have to add the cryoprotectant drop by drop, because if you just dump it all in at once, you create something called osmotic shock. The sudden change in pressure just makes the cells shrivel up and die instantly. It's over. Slow and steady is the only way to do it.
Okay, once the cells are protected and all packaged up, they're ready for the real cold. But again, you can't just plunge them straight into the final temperature. That would be way too much of a shock. Instead, it's this carefully controlled two-stage process.
So stage one is like a gentle introduction.
The vials are suspended in nitrogen vapor, right above the surface of the liquid nitrogen itself. The temperature here is about -80 degrees Celsius. They just hang out here for about 10 to 15 minutes, cooling down nice and gradually.
After that initial chill-out period, once the cells are stable and ready, it's time. Time for the final plunge into suspended animation.
And here is their final destination. The samples are completely submerged in liquid nitrogen, which keeps them at a constant, stable temperature of -196 degrees Celsius. I mean, that is just unbelievably cold. At this temperature, all biological activity just stops. Time is officially frozen, and that sample can stay this way, perfectly preserved for decades.
So, we've talked about the science, the drop-by-drop mixing, the two-stage cooling, but honestly, none of that matters, not one bit, without the single most important, absolutely unbreakable golden rule of cryopreservation.
That's it. It's not a chemical, it's not a temperature, it's a procedure. Every single vial, every single straw has to be meticulously and permanently labeled. You have to remember, a sample frozen today might not be needed for 15 years. The person who froze it might not even work here anymore. That little label is the only thing connecting that sample to a person's future. And that label, it's written with a special kind of ink that won't fade or wash off in liquid nitrogen. It has to have everything: the patient's full name, a unique ID number, the exact date it was frozen, and which sample it is in a series, like vial 1 of 3. There is absolutely zero room for error here. Because the consequence of getting this wrong is, well, it's absolute. An unlabeled sample is the lab's worst nightmare. You can't use it. It has to be destroyed. You are quite literally throwing away someone's chance to become a father. It's such a simple rule, but it carries this immense, immense weight of responsibility.
So there you have it. From swapping water for a protective gel, drop by drop, to a two-stage plunge into an impossibly cold abyss, all governed by the unbreakable rule of labeling. It's a process of just delicate genius. It allows us to give people this powerful insurance policy against the unknown. And it leaves us with a pretty fascinating question to ponder. If we've actually mastered the art of pausing a single cell in time, what does that mean for the future of medicine, and maybe even for our very definition of life?